investment. Let's go!
What is going on, guys? RogueTCG here, bringing the Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG deck profile you have all voted for, and I am very happy to be responding. Here is Pendulum. Now, you might see the list and you might be like, what the heck? This isn't Pendulum, this is fucking Snake Eye. This is Snake Eye Fiendsmith, what the heck? And yes, it is also Snake Eye Fiendsmith. I will give you all that. It is also Snake Eye Fiendsmith. And to that, I'm gonna say, I've been testing with this deck for about 3 weeks now. About 3 weeks on and off testing with this deck. The core cards that I wanted to stay in here are Servant of Endymion, the Jackal Kings, all that. And I was testing with Performing Pal, with Pendulum Magician, with True Dracos, you know, the whole, like, everything. I was trying to test with absolutely everything, and it was just subpar all around. It was very inconsistent, and the primary thing was those archetypes didn't have a way to activate spells consistently, and they weren't able to activate enough spells in order to consistently put enough spell counters on my pendulums in order to actually get the benefit out of them. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, what deck has guaranteed access to at least 2 to 3 spells? And Snake Eye does. We have our Wanted, we have our Bonfires, we have our searchable OSS, we have our searchable Fiendsmith Tract, and with all of this, I found this has been super consistent in terms of getting your Snake Eye or Pendulum board or what have you out, as well as the Pendulums actually do supplement the Snake Eye Fiendsmith end board now that Apo is banned. The Servant of Endymion does translate to, before our 5th summon, it can translate to a Jackal King with counters on it, which can stop Nibiru. So that is just the theory behind the deck. This deck also does put out a lot of just generic bodies that we can get rid of. And the Pendulum aspect of this deck is very recursive and allows us to play in a grind game more so than the Snake Eye cards do. Now that the Snake Eye cards are limited, it's a lot more difficult to play grindier games with them. The Pendulum cards actually do allow us to do that. So that's enough yapping about the general thought process of the deck. Let's go to the card by card and let me tell you what I think. Starting off, the best card of the Pendulum portion of the deck, we're on triple copies as Servant of Endymion. The main effect is going to be its effect while it's in the pen scale. Each time a spell card is activated, place a spell counter on this card when this spell resolves. We can remove 3 spell counters to special summon both this card from our pen zone and a monster from our deck with 1,000 or more attack. And we can place a spell counter on, and then we get to place a spell counter on each. So it'll summon itself, and typically it's either going to summon an Endymion, which is a spell negate, or it's going to summon a Jackal King, which is going to be a monster negate. Those are our 2 primary objectives when we are playing with these Endymion cards, is to get both Endymion and Jackal King out on the board. We are all in double copies of Magical Abductor. Each time a spell card is activated, we can put a spell counter on it, and we can remove 3 spell counters to add a pen card from deck to hand. Pen monster specifically, not just card. However, this card just adds whatever we want. It's a scale 3. This one's a scale 2. Scale 2 is better, but scale 3 still ain't bad. Servant also has an on-field effect, which isn't especially the most relevant. However, you can't put pitch cards in order to put spell counters on each card we control, so it just is dependent on our board state somewhat. We are on 1 copy of Magister of Endymion. Its Pendulum scale effect is each time a spell is activated, put a spell counter on it. When that resolves, we can remove 3 counters from this card to special summon both this card from our pen zone and a face-up monster from our extra deck, so a pen card that's in our extra. And if we do, put a spell counter on each. This is a way we can get our Jackal King out if we used it as material for a link summon off of our Servant of Endymion. This is just another way to recur that, or our Endymion Mighty Master of Magic. These cards are a lot more tutorable than Servant is, so we are only playing a copy of Magister of Endymion. However, if you wanted to play more, I could definitely see it. We're on 2 copies of Endymion, the Mighty Master of Magic. This was one of the few cards in our deck that doesn't actually have an effect to put spell counters on itself. We can remove 6 spell counters from our field while it's in our pen scale to special summon it from our pen zone, then count the number of cards we control that have a counter on them, and destroy the same number of cards that our opponent, just destroy that amount of cards on the field. And if we do place spell counters on this card equal to the number of cards that we actually did destroy. So it's a very strange effect, but essentially we remove 6 counters, we summon itself, and if we have any remaining counters on our board, we pop that many cards on field, and if we did pop those cards, we can then put those counters right back onto Endymion himself. But that is its Pendulum effect, and then its monster effect is once per turn when a spell or trap card or effect is activated. Quick effect, we can return a card we control with the spell counter to our hand, and if we do, negate the activation. So Endymion itself doesn't actually need to return itself, but it just needs to return a card with a spell counter. It can be our scale if we need to. However, it does mean we're trading out spell counter resources for negation. That's its primary effect, but it also has it's untargetable while it has a spell counter, and it can't be destroyed by card effects while it has a spell counter. And then if they choose to destroy it by battle, we then get to add any one spell from our deck to our hand while it has a spell counter. It is a normal spell, but OSS is a normal spell, so is Bonfire, so is Tract, so is Spell Power Mastery, and so is Duelist Alliance, as well as Triple Tactics Talents. Most of our primary cards are going to be normal spells, so not a problem there. We're on 1 copy of Mythical Beastmaster Cerberus. This card in our scale destroys itself. We have nothing on our other scale, and then we'll add a Jackal King from deck to hand. Jackal King, if it's the only card in our scale, will destroy itself and then special summon Master Cerberus from extra deck to our field. This is just a way to load up a Jackal King and then to also special summon the Master Cerberus, who each time a spell card is activated, put 2 spell counters on this card. When that spell card resolves, can't be destroyed by card effects, while it has 4 more spell counters on your field in general. Once per turn, you can remove 4 counters from our field. Target a monster opponent controls, banish it face up, and if you do, it gains attack. Neat little interaction. It's like a BLS of sorts, but more for spell counters. This card is a lot better for going second, but for going first, it's just an extra material. Jackal King, I already went over. It's a monster negate. It is a once per turn, but it's not a hard once per turn, so if we get multiple Jackal Kings, we can negate multiple times, which is why we were playing multiple Jackal Kings, in all honesty. We're on 3 copies of Spell Power Mastery. God damn. We can add an Endymion card from our deck to our hand, then we can count the number of Spell Power Masteries and grass we control or in our graveyard, and place that many spell counters on cards we control, and then we can place a spell counter on them. So essentially when this card activates, we're going to immediately hit the spell counter on the spell card activation, and then we can put 1 spell counter on a card because there's 1 Spell Power Mastery on our side of the field, being itself. So it's basically a double spell counter on a card, plus it's also a reinforcement of the army, so this card's very powerful when playing 3 of it. Typically we add Servant Endymion. If we already have Servant on field, then we add either Magister or Endymion himself. We're on, this is a cool card, Pendulum Witch. If a face-up fusion, synchro, and our Xyz monster we control is destroyed by a battle or opponent's card effect while this card's in our pen zone, we can add a pen monster with the same original type as one of those monsters from our deck to our face-up extra deck. Not especially the best effect on that card, but it is a scale 8. The main effect is going to be its monster effect, actually. If it's normal or pen summoned, we can target a card in our pen zone, destroy both that target and this card, and we get to add a level 4 or lower pen from our deck to our hand, and that is a hard once per turn. And then if this card in the monster zone is destroyed, we can just scale it from extra deck, which is great. So basically, it'll pop a scale, fix the scale by putting itself there as a scale 8, and then also Rhoda for any penned monster. So if we used our normal on the Pendulum Witch, we can then immediately Pendulum summon, and our primary card we're going to be summoning is going to be Majesty Pegasus. However, we are also playing Triple Duelist Alliance in order to search this Pendulum Witch, because this will search any Pendulum monster, being, Pendulum Witch. It's also a normal spell that we can activate. We're on Double Majesty Pegasus, the Draco Slayer. Scale effect, not relevant, I'm going to let you know. Main effect is on Special Summon effect. If this card is special summoned by the effect of a Draco Slayer card or Pendulum Summon, we can add 1 field spell from our deck to our hand, then discard a card. This enables us to do one of 2 things. Either go for Chicken Game, which is another spell counter, and then also a draw, or we can go to Secret Village of the Spellcasters. Jackal King is a spellcaster, although he don't look like that shit. So we are able to just completely lock out spells, basically making sure we don't actually have to make the Endymion itself in order to negate those type of effects, although Endymion will still negate trap effects, so it is actually probably still worth it to make that in order for evenly matched specifically. We're on 1 Call by the Grave, 1 Triple Tactics Talents as a couple generic cards. We're on Snake Eye cards, Oak, Poplar, Ash, 1 Flambussy, double at OSS in order for the extra spells. Note, we cannot send our Pendulum Scales or Pendulum Monsters to the graveyard for our Snake Eye cards, although we don't really need to. Frequently, we can send something like our Chicken Game that's on our side of the field that we already drew a card off of in order to do that ourselves anyway. So it's not necessarily the worst thing in the world. We are on triple bonfire in order to search primarily poplar, but we can also search ash or oak with it. Triple wanted seeker simple spoils for our Diabell Star, and then our Fiendsmith engine, 1 track, which is another spell that we can pretty much always access. We're on 3 copies of Engraver and 1 copy of Fabled Lurie. In our extra deck for our Fiendsmith, we're on 1 Requiem, 1 Closed Heaven, 1 Desiree, 1 Princess, as well as our M7, which allows us to do our tracked play, as well as our sequence. For our Snake Eyes, I want to say it's less for our Snake Eyes, more just generic stuff for the rest of it. We're on 1 Heated the Fire Charmer Ablaze, 1 Zelantis paired with Raging Phoenix, 1 Promethean Princess Bestower of the Flames in order to bring back our fires from graveyard and do our Snake Eye stuff, 1 copy of Access the Code Talker for popping cards and OTKs, 1 copy of SP paired with an IP Masquerena, 1 copy of Selene, Queen of Master Magicians. This card in this deck actually has an additional purpose. This card cannot be targeted for attacks if we have an Endymion on our side of the field, or an Endymion monster. So even if we have Servant or Magister or Endymion, they can't target our Selene if we do choose to keep it up. And this card just allows us to reborn spellcasters from our graveyard. And then we're on 1 copy of Beyond the Pendulum. This allows us to actually play the grind game with the Pendulum cards, searching a Pendulum from deck to hand, popping a card when we pen summon to zone its points to, and yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all it does. It also will negate the effects of our pen skills until we pen summon. So frequently, if you feel like you're being locked out by your combo, it's probably this card that's locking you out when you're play testing. We also do have the ability to, in theory, play a Gaga Cowboy in order to win in time if the situation demands for it. Although I do recommend not actually putting it in because it has gotten someone pretty notorious in a little bit of hot water. So I don't think Gaga Cowboy is necessarily worth it to be playing in Pendulum just for that reason. But that's going to be actually about it for the actual profile itself. I do want to either show you a test game or a test hand, so I'm going to be bringing you to that now. But if you choose to leave now, I do understand. Thank you so much for my 1 member Airy, and let us go to the games. Alrighty, so here we are in a game. This is in casual mode. I believe we are against Sprite, and we open pretty mid, to be completely honest. We start with Spellpower Mastery. They immediately Ash Blossom. We go, alright, let's Bonfire. Bonfire, add Poplar, and we're going to go Poplar effect in hand to special summon itself. Go Poplar effect on field, and then we're going to get Impermed. That is all cool, because then we're going to go Fiendsmith Engraver to add Fiendsmith Track. And you might think what we're doing here is we're going to add Lurie to discard Lurie. We're adding Lurie, and we're going to be discarding our Jackal King. Since we actually don't need our normal summon with this hand, we're going to normal summon the Lurie, go OSS for Ash, and then we're going to go Ash effect, and then Poplar effect to reset it. Poplar is going to reset itself, and then Ash is going to grab an Oak for follow-up for next turn. Then we're going to link off that into Fiendsmith Requiem. Then we're going to go grab Fiendsmith. We're going to go Snake Eye Ash into Flambussy. Then we're going to go into a sequence. We're going to go Flamberge, bring back 2. We're going to go sequence in order to get a Desiree on board. We're going to go those into Promethean Princess. We're going to put the sequence. We're going to put the Requiem because we actually didn't have to shuffle that one back. We're going to bring back our Flamberge. We're going to make our Hita. And then we're going to put our Poplar in the back row. We're going to go Hita to bring back their Ash Blossom. We're going to go into Selene. And that's the reason we discarded our Jackal King, so we could go Selene to bring back our Jackal King from the graveyard. Now, Jackal King is very interesting in the fact that it doesn't have to remove counters from itself. It can just remove it from the field, so we can remove it from Selene. They're going to banish a Promethean Princess. That's fine. They're going to go Nibble Beaver. Effect activate, and since Jackal King is not Apollosa, we negate and then destroy, and they have no level 2s on field to extend any further. Now this is the one situation where Jackal King is better than Apollosa because it does destroy, but it is still a once per turn, soft once per turn at that, but it is a once per turn unlike the banned Apollosa. But that's going to be about it for the video. Thank you so much for watching. I will be seeing you all later. Bye bye! Thank you guys so much for watching the video. If you wanted to talk to more Yu-Gi-Oh players like yourself, I would highly recommend checking out our Discord server. Link is going to be in the description, as well as the QR code on screen. We do talk somewhat frequently about Yu-Gi-Oh and the current meta, so I would really enjoy to see you there. As well as we do recently now have channel memberships available on our YouTube channel. where we have 3 different tiers. We have Super Supporter at $2 a month, where you get loyalty badges, emojis, guaranteed comment responses, a shout out at the end of every video, as well as access to the members only Discord channel, where you get early sneak peeks at future videos. There is the Giga Supporter at $5 a month, where you have early access to all new videos about a day or two before they go up, as well as all the previous offers. And for $15 a month, we do have our final tier, which is going to be Femboy Fanatic. You get a guaranteed customized video every single month, as well as 1 hour of my time. Could be for anything you'd like. You want a duel? Absolutely. You want me to help build a deck? Absolutely. You want to play some Helldivers? Sure. I'll do anything for an hour once a month. But supporting does help me out quite a lot, and it does help me produce all of these videos. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll be seeing y'all later. Bye bye.